Good day, everyone. Welcome to another one of my Unstoppable Sales Prospecting live streams, covering off some of my favorite topics in my latest book, The Unstoppable Sales Prospecting System. Today is one of my favorite strategies to use to generate new prospects because in reality, it doesn't have a lot to do with cold outreach. And it's not new. So I'm going to start there. This is not my idea, but what I've learned from working with sales professionals around the globe is that referrals is still one of the best solutions when it comes to generating prospects. Now, when I use the word best, here's what I mean. It's one of the easiest to apply because it can just become a routine more than a process, although I'm going to cover a process you can use. It's one of the most comfortable to apply because you're not really trying to reach out and drum up a conversation with somebody you don't know, right? A referral is initially a conversation with somebody you do know, you've done work with. They're obviously happy with the work that you've done, the relationship you have, and you're simply asking them a favor, right? That's not difficult, challenging, embarrassing at all. It's just a conversation. So it's very easy to have referral conversations. But most importantly, and what I cover off in my book, The Unstoppable Sales Prospecting System, which is a mouthful now that I say that all at once. But nonetheless, one of the things that does work the best is having a process. It's putting a process around referrals. That's when they become highly effective for generating new opportunities. And that's even if you're new to selling. Maybe you've moved to a new company. Maybe you're new to a career in selling. You can still generate referrals. More on that in just a moment. But here is the process. Let me get to this. So think about this. What often happens when you ask for a referral? It typically is when a client or customer says something positive to you. Hey, that really worked out well. Hey, appreciate you getting back to me so quickly. Hey, appreciate you being able to ship that so quickly. Hey, appreciate you were able to help me out of that predicament. Whatever the situation is, we hear a positive comment and then we think, oh, referral time. This is a good time to ask for a referral. And then we tend to ask a vague question. Oh, happy to do so. Hey, do you know somebody else that could use this? Now, let me just start by saying a vague question will almost always get a vague answer. So if you say, hey, do you know somebody? They're going to say, sure. And that's usually it. So you've got to be very specific. And I've talked about in some of my other live streams, the point that referrals need to be specific. And I cover that again in the Unstoppable Sales Prospecting System. But nonetheless, here's what I wanted to share with you today. Your process for obtaining referrals needs to be something more consistent. It needs to be part of your overall prospecting process. So here's what that looks like. I don't have a visual for you today, so hopefully you can picture this. But if not, here's what you can do. Draw a line and put an arrow on that line so it suggests a direction, okay? And then along that line at the very beginning, so on your far left, if we're going to draw the arrow to the right, on the far left side put initial interaction. So that's your initial interaction with a prospect. Then maybe leave a little bit of space, put another vertical line across that. And next to that vertical line, above or below it, let's say, put opportunity identified. Then again, another about equal amount of space, put another line and put the word above or below the line that says proposal or quote issued. Then draw, again, leave a little bit of space, draw another vertical line and put opportunity/proposal closed. And then you'll have a little bit of space left in your arrow. Okay, so you've got about 4 lines equally spaced in your arrow on this vertical plane, if you will. Now, here's what I want to suggest to you, that the core components of any conversation that you convert are what you've just noted on that line. So you've got the initial connection that you make with somebody. That isn't, I'm trying to reach you. It's, we actually have a conversation. We meet at an event, you reply to my email, and we get a conversation started. You answer the phone, whatever the scenario is. Then what we're often trying to do is really quantify and qualify, is there an opportunity here and is it in the near term? So that's your next line. Then if that opportunity goes well and progresses, it's something we can support, we can sell to, there's a connection there, etc. The next real big milestone typically is they might issue us an RFP that we can then respond to. We might just send them a quote. It depends on what you're selling. And if all goes well through conversations, negotiations, handling objections, whatever the case is, the next step is we close that opportunity. And then typically the referral happens sometime after. Not always, but oftentimes, because we think logically, hey, I'm going to have to deliver some value here. We're gonna have to supply this thing. We're gonna have to work with them for a bit to build their trust so that they will refer us. So I'll wait and ask them at a certain time. So here's what I want to suggest when you look at those lines. In your initial interaction, in your initial qualification, you can plant a seed, and you plant those seeds for referrals all along the way. So it's not asking outright, it's simply mentioning, so that when we get to the point of asking for a referral, it's not a surprise. So as an example, in the initial line that you've noted there, where you make contact, let's say you make contact at an event with somebody you've been trying to connect with, you have a brief conversation and it's going well. It's not a hi, how are you, call me later. It's a hey, how are you, tell me about your business, et cetera, et cetera. During that conversation, you simply mention, hey, well, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to meet. Maybe you've discussed a meeting date. That's a step you should be following, by the way. Looking forward to the chance to meet. And just want to mention, if we end up working together at some point, I'll circle back to see who else you might suggest that I connect with. Is that fair to you? Right? Now, again, you can change that language to whatever you're comfortable with. But the point is, in the conversation, you just generally mention the idea that referrals are important. Right? When I used to sell cars, people would come to the parking lot, because back then that's what you had to do. There was not much of an internet. They would come to the parking lot. We'd been looking at cars, just talking, getting to know them a bit. And I'd say, well, look, if you're happy, if you end up buying a car from me and you're happy with the overall experience, I will circle back and ask who else you know. Now, what's interesting is that sometimes when I mention that, they would say, oh, well, I'm happy so far. My cousin's looking. Let me introduce you. So sometimes that initial seed planting will actually flush out a referral. It's rare, but it can happen. But then think about the next step. So the next step might be that you've connected, and now you've identified an opportunity. So that typically happens during a meeting, several conversations, maybe a presentation. And at that point, you just make a mention again. Say, look, I really appreciate the time. It looks like we've got something here we could support you with, something that we could offer you. It looks like there's interest in our product. Again, it's going to depend on what you're selling. You say something similar to the first time. Just as a reminder, if we get to a point you decide to move ahead with this, with us, with buying the product, etc., I will circle back and see who else you'd suggest I connect with, because in all honesty, that's how I've really built my network of great people like you, or intelligent people like you, whatever your statement is. You can change that wording, but the point is plant a seed. Then you get to the RFP or quote stage. Same thing again. Let's say you're sending them the quote, or the response, if you will, to what they requested you quote, or you're sending them a proposal, whatever the situation might be. You say to them, hey, as I send this to you, just a heads up, we're getting closer and closer to me asking for that referral. So what I really want to suggest is that you need to mention more often about how important referrals are to you. Now, you don't have to do them in each of these stages. I just wanted to give you an example. But the point is, don't wait until after you're working together. Mention it before you get to the point of asking for it. Then when you get to the point of asking for it, your prospect has had a chance to consider. They've had a chance to think, and it's happened because you've mentioned it more than once. My preference is to use a little bit of humor when I mention it. And obviously, I'm not going to, if the conversation is not going well, you don't say, hey, by the way, this doesn't seem to be working out, so let me ask you for a referral, right? But the point is, plant seeds so they're not surprised. And then once you close the business, again, you make mention of it. And you can even go as far as saying, we've been discussing this all along. I know we haven't got started yet, but is there somebody you'd suggest I connect with? They say yes, you pursue. If they say no, I want to wait a bit, or I haven't had a chance to think about it, you say no problem. I'm going to check in with you then insert your typical follow-up. Is it 2 weeks after they get started? Is it 30 days, 60 days? I would suggest within 30 days. You say, I'm going to check back in 30 days. Make sure things are going well. Make sure you have what you need. At that time, would it be okay with you if I reminded you about a referral? At this point, most clients, most customers, because you've now closed the business, are going to say, yeah, by all means. And then you follow up. So what I want you to notice is that you're still asking for referrals typically after you've started working with them and after there's been a short period of time to work together. But by making it part of your process, by mentioning it early on, you're giving them more of a chance to consider who they might want to connect you to. Secondly, what you're doing is you're convincing them that this is just part of the process. This is how this goes. When I work with this company and this salesperson, this is how this works. So you're educating them that this is what they will need to do. Not saying they will, but there's a better chance they will. And last but not least, you're integrating this into a process so that you're doing it for everybody, not just when you hear something positive. If you start to approach your referrals or your sourcing of referrals in that manner, I think you can agree you're going to get a lot more referrals. Okay, you're going to get some that won't work out. You're going to get some people say, I can't think of anybody. That's going to happen. But it's going to work far better when it's repeated, as part of your process, than if you just wait for that positive comment and then say, oh yeah, referral opportunity. So try that out. If you want more detail, although I did go into a lot of detail, make sure you grab a copy of my latest book, The Unstoppable Sales Prospecting System, available all great places books are sold. Hope you've enjoyed this. I'd suggest this week you go out and give it a try. Add it into your conversations you're having and see what kind of results you get. And until next time, let's get out there and go sell something. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.